Right then, so the Bolognese kit recipe. So come with me and I will show you exactly how to make the Bolognese kit recipe. Now it's the same method. Hello? You dancing? It's the same method, whether it's the vegetarian one or the meat one. So we're going to do the vegetarian one, but it's the same method the way through. Come with me. Right then, so this is the method for the Bolognese kit. Now in your Bolognese kit, you're going to have some dough, and that's pasta dough. If you've chosen the vegetarian option, then you'll have mushrooms. If you've chosen the meat option, then you'll have hot dog sausages. The same method applies to both. You've got cheese, you've got a piece of garlic, and you've got some chopped onion. And also, you've got a sachet of Bolognese mix. So the first thing that we need to do is turn this into tagliatelle or spaghetti. So move all of our other bits out of the way. Now, if you can pop this in the fridge, but you've got to make sure that when you want to prepare it, it's got to be back at room temperature, so it's nice and squidgy. Otherwise, it'll start to crack. Now, this one is at room temperature, so I'll show you what it's got to be like. So it's a little bit tacky and it's quite squidgy, and you want to try and just squeeze it together a little bit. Just to get the warmth from your hands into the dough and just wake it up a little bit. Okay? Now, you're going to need a little bit of flour for this method. So, grab yourself a little bag of flour and push it and squeeze it as much as you can. Now, this one I've had in the fridge. So, I'm just going to show you what it's like when it comes out of the fridge. I've cut this and used half of it, and I've put the other half in the fridge, which is absolutely fine to do as long as you wrap it up. Now, it's a little bit... It's just cold and a little bit harder, so it needs to be room temperature because I really can't squeeze that easily. So that's got to be left out in the cling film for an hour maybe, just until it feels warm. Okay, let's see. Very good. Okay, now I'm just going to chop this in half.
Let's do it together.
Okay.
Chop, 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 chop.
Like that.
No, we get each.
So one half we'll put to one side. So this half, we're just going to make back into a circle again. And then we're going to make it look like, a bit like a burger. So as thick as a burger and round. And we're just going to do that by my fingers and thumb. Okay? And then I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour down, Code.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah? You mix it all round. Okay. I'm going to put the flour on both sides of the pasta dough. And now I'm going to get my rolling pin and I'm going to roll it as flat as possible.
I do it.
Yeah. It is really hard to get this flat, so make sure that you've got a grown-up with you while you're doing it who's got big muscles, like a mummy or a daddy or a big brother or a big sister or uncle or auntie or
Cody.
or a big coder, yeah.
Yeah, I got one. I go mash.
So I'm just going to kind of like rock it backwards and forwards.
I do that.
Yeah, I'll just start it off for you, and I'm putting all of my top weight on here. If you've got a pasta machine, then use it. I'm going to flip it back over and then start to just go backwards and forwards over the top of it to get it nice and flat. If you haven't got a rolling pin, you can use a can of Coke or a tin of beans and just keep going over it. Okay, let's have a little look. So we'll flip it up. So it's quite thin. It's getting there. Right, so we're going to leave it as that. So now, what do we do now, Code?
Smash it.
No, don't smash it. What do we do?
Pull it and put all the vegetables on.
No, not yet. So this is the pasta tagliatelle. So I'm going to take the top and fold it over like that. I'm not going to push down too hard. I'm just going to push a little crease into it. And then I'm going to roll it over again. And then again. And then Cody's going to keep rolling it over. Keep rolling it over. and put a little bit of pressure on like that, and then roll it over. Bit of pressure, roll it over, bit of pressure, there we go. And then now we take the knife and we cut a little slice, probably twice as thick as what the knife is. So only a very small slice, like that.
All of it. Big.
And we cut all of it, yeah.
Yeah. And cut all of the vegetable. And Cody now.
It's got to be quite a sharp knife, so I think that grown-ups should do this part.
Okay, on this side of camera, Cody and Daddy, we eat nothing. We eating nothing, Daddy.
We haven't had lunch yet, have we?
No.
So this is going to be our lunch.
Yeah. Our one. We and that's it.
So then what Cody's going to do now is unravel the tagliatelle. And he'll show you how to do that, won't you, Cody?
Yeah.
So you tell everyone what you're going to do.
I'm going to roll this off. Can't roll that this because get to another end.
So show the camera what you do. So you pick up the end.
Yeah. And you put it right there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
And get another one.
And you open it out.
Yeah, and then you keep
So basically, you just grab the end of your tagliatelle and it should just lift off like that. And then just strain it all out. Lie it down.
Mine don't do any good.
So this, if you cook it now, it's going to become quite starchy because the dough is really fresh. If you want it to harden up like normal spaghetti, then leave it overnight and it will turn to be quite hard. Okay? So in the morning, you'll see that it's quite stiff. Like, almost just like normal spaghetti, where it will stand up on its own. So, what we do now is open up all of these.
I'm helping you do yours.
Yeah.
I can do it slowly.
You can just grab it and sprinkle it out.
I want to.
Okay, sorry, buddy.
You do it slowly.
Right then, guys. So we're at the part now, but we need to start making the sauce. So we've got all of our tagliatelle here, and that's all been pulled apart, and we've left that for about an hour just to make it a little bit drier, just so it's not as starchy when we cook it. So now we're going to get our saucepan. We're going to put a little drizzle of oil inside the saucepan, maybe like a teaspoon or two, and then just turn on the heat. So obviously this is for grown-ups to do this part.
Okay, today. That peel do.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put this hot water into here now. So this is where we're going to cook the spaghetti. I'm going to pop that over here just so you guys can see what I do next. So when that starts to boil, I'm going to put the tagliatelle into there. So this saucepan is where I'm going to be making the sauce. So again, I'm going to put a little bit of oil into there. Now this is starting to boil now. So I'm going to pop this in. I'm going to try and sprinkle it in so it doesn't stick to itself, but the oil should help it from sticking to itself anyway. You don't want to overcrowd your saucepan, so you might want to do it in 2 stages, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so in here, I'm just going to pop all this over to the other side. So in here is where I'm going to be making my sauce. So I've got the onion, I've got mushrooms, and I've got my garlic, mushrooms and onion. So first off, I'm going to put my onion into there. Just straight in. Turn it down a tiny bit, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a mix so all the onion is covered in the oil. Now I don't want this to get too hot, so it's all the way down. Now we need to do our garlic. So there's 3 ways you could do this. They all start the same. You get a chopping board and you squash it with your hand. Okay? By doing that, it just makes you be able to peel it a bit easier. Now, we're going to snip off this little end, this little dark piece. So just cut that with a pair of scissors or a knife if you've got one. Now we can either use this thing called a garlic press. Now we put it in there, we squeeze it as hard as we can, and it comes out of these holes like little pieces of garlic, and we put it straight into the saucepan. But some people don't have a garlic press, so the other way we could do it is to get a spoon, really crush it as much as we can on the back of a spoon, put it into a cup, and then you try and cut it up with some scissors. Make sure your scissors are nice and clean, and kitchen scissors. If you have got a knife, then great. You can just... Okay, Lara. Okay. You can just get your knife and just chop it up really, really fine. And then that goes straight into your saucepan. And that flavours the oil. So when you put the rest of the stuff in, it tastes really good. Now this is the same method whether you're doing it vegetarian or meaty. So what I'm going to do is put them both in, just so I can show you. So the next step is my bolognese mix. Now I'm going to put in 150 ml of cold water into this sachet. Okay. So I want you to fill it up to where it says ingredients. That is 150 ml on the packet. So I've literally put the water straight into there. Cold water straight into there. Now I'm just going to get a fork and give that a mix inside the bag. Okay? If you want to do it in a bowl, you can. I'm just trying to save a little bit of washing up. And then I'm going to pour that into here. Now I'm going to take it straight off I'm going to turn it off for a second, because I just want to talk to you about the next part. So I'm going to get my little cup and I'm going to take some of the starchy water out of here. I've got half a cup. I'm just going to pour that into there as well. Okay. Now I'm going to mix that in. I've turned it off, so I'm just going to mix that into the oil and the vegetables. Now the starchy water helps it to thicken out a little bit. On the packet it says that if you've got you can add 400 grams of chopped tomatoes. So if you've got chopped tomatoes, stick them in. If you've got anything else you want to add to this, then stick it in. This is just a basic recipe for the ingredients that are in the kit. Okay. So I'm probably going to need a little bit more water in there because it's quite thin. I want it to be a little bit. I want there to be some more in there. So now I'm just going to pop my mushrooms into there. I'm going to turn it back on a little bit, but I'm going to do it very, very low. Now this is starting to boil now as well. I'm just going to mix those in. Obviously if you're doing the meat one, then again, just put in your meat as well. We need to keep an eye on it because we don't want that to burn. It's quite a thin sauce. Now, just going to see how these are getting on. So get one of your strands of spaghetti out. So get mum or dad or one of your grown-ups to get a piece of spaghetti out. Put that onto your chopping board and just cut a little bit off it and just pop it back in. Let that little piece cool down a little bit. Okay. Now this is starting to get warm. And it's starting to get thick as well. So now that's cool enough, I'm just going to try it. Still a little bit tough in the middle. So that needs a few more minutes. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I'm just going to add some more water. Now the main thing is to keep an eye on your sauce, because it's quite a small sauce. We need to keep making sure that it doesn't get too thick and then burn. So mine's getting quite thick now, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the starchy water. So grown-ups, be careful. And I'm going to pop that into there. Yes, Lara? Okay, hang on. And I'm going to mix that up. So what I'm going to do now is take the spaghetti, let it drain a little bit, and just drop it straight into my saucepan there. And then I'm just going to drop the rest of this spaghetti in. Again, I'm going to sprinkle it so it doesn't stick together. And then I'm just going to let that cook through. I'm just going to stir this in. and then keep it on a very, very low heat just for it to keep warm. If you want to add a little bit more of the starchy water, then do that. I'm going to add another little bit, about another 1/4 cup. So I've done 2 half cups and 1/4 cup. If you use tap water to do this, it doesn't really give the same texture, so it doesn't keep the thickness, whereas starchy water keeps the thickness. So I'm going to turn that off and move it onto this very, very small hob, just to keep it warm on a low heat, while this extra piece of spaghetti cooks. Wait for it to cool down and then give it a try. I think that's done now. So turn that off again. Drop it into there.
A microphone coming.
I'm just trying to do this. Be quiet, Code, please. Quiet, Code, please. Code, not in here, please. 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 Give that a mix. See how you're getting on. I'm going to add a little bit more starchy water into there, just to get a bit more of the sauce going round. So again, hold your cup up the top so you don't get your fingers in the hot water, because it's very hot, and be very careful. So that's 1/4 cup into there. Get your tongs in there onto a spoon, spin it around and slide it onto your plate. Get your tongs in there, spin it around, slide it onto your plate. Get your tongs in there, spin it around, and you won't start getting the toppings until you get to the end of the sauce here. So now we'll get our spoon and we'll just put the toppings on there. Like that. Get everything out of the way. And there you have it. So for this final part, little sprinkle of cheese over the top. Done. Spaghetti Bolognese.